I said I called AI an idiot, and it's not. But what it does is give TMI. It gives too much information. It doesn't boil down. It'll boil it down, but in a way that's still too overwhelming for the concepts. And I love AI. I'm enjoying it incredibly much. It's a little too time consuming, but it's something that has its limits, has its real limits. And so you wanna think: is the advice that you're getting from a human? So I have a stupid wide range of interests. So it goes from physics to evolution to God to swinging to all this other stuff. I have this kind of really wide range, but I collect the information as I go in my mind. I have for years, and so I go through AI, and AI is giving me information, and I categorize it. Some of it you can tell is not true because it gets it from somewhere else. It really doesn't really look at it very logically. And here's the key to it: it only gives you what's the most popular answer, whether it's true or not. So you have to really ask the right questions to get past that glad handing, shake your hand program. And you got to get past what it's actually saying about you because it doesn't really feel like you're smart. So that's AI. That's the truth of AI. It gives you some bad information. That's the danger of it. Is people think, well, AI said, well, yeah, but AI makes stuff up. They know they hallucinate. So it is a program, and that's kind of weird. So I have this wide range of interests, and what I'm seeing is a real kind of AI catfish. In politics, it's really obvious. In evolution, it's really obvious that they're using an AI to answer these statements. And so I get this one about evolution, and I put out in a comment about DNA scars. And so I get this, you must mean this. Well, that's AI. AI does that. You must mean this. By this you mean blah, blah, blah. Right? And so not to explain it in detail, but then I wrote back. It's the first time I've shut up an AI. I wrote back and I said, well, if you were really intelligent about this, you would line up the categories of these imperfections in the DNA caused by viruses, and you would then, if you line them up, it becomes obvious that if there was an intelligent designer, he took his source material from here. And if it's more than 50,000 years ago, you can't really tell that it was genetically modified, which the oldest DNA that's viable is probably about 50,000 years old. So that's kind of interesting too. So they use other datings besides carbon, and there's some radio and there's some nuclear, and so you read those, and then not all of those are very accurate, and they don't deal with human flesh. They don't deal with DNA. They're normally like bones and some other stuff. So the real one that would deal with it, it's got a 50,000 year limit. But anyway, so I'm seeing these answers, and I know that they're AI, and you really don't want an AI talking to you about sex, especially since almost everything you're saying is recorded. So a little piece of advice: if you're a newbie, be careful who you're talking to. You want a human. Okay, thank you. So the ideas of monogamy in our society is for stupid people. If you disagree, check out my videos, and you'll see that I make some pretty good cases that we're not monogamous, and monogamy is ruined relationships for a great deal of time. And now first divorces are going down because people are not tied to monogamy, and they're not tied to marriage. They would try out their relationships and eventually will get married, or they don't get married. But the point is that divorces went from 50% to 30% because the new generation is dealing with it differently and getting married later. But monogamy is for stupid people. They need to really realize that this world has been caused a huge amount of harm by the religious fanatics thinking monogamy is the best way. It isn't the best way. What is the best way is open communication, it's good relationships, it's a bunch of other things that form a core around a relationship that's going to be successful. Another example of being careful as Americans is in an age where there are anti-sexual differences, answering questions on medical flyers or medical processes might be not in your best interest. For example, okay, so when you go to a doctor, you fill out this questionnaire, they put the information in, and they get an algorithm sits there and figures out the most likely problems. That sounds good, but each individual is different. Everybody's eating habits are different. Everybody's exercise habits are different. Stress levels are different. So it really is it can lead the doctor on a false path. You have to be really smart to figure out that this is an individual that you're talking to and ask the right questions. That's a good doctor. But the information leads them down the path. I've had an example where you sat down and asked you sexual orientation. So how do you explain swinging on that application? I would just say monogamous and straight. Personally, I'm not an expert, but you don't want them going down that path. If you have a concern about STDs or other things where you just want to be tested, tell the doctor, look, I just want to be tested. You don't have to explain why. You don't have to give them any information. You just say, I want to be tested. But if you do put all that information down, or the doctor does, and you can ask the doctor, I asked the doctor, look, I don't want this information on the records. I've been tested. I'm negative. But I don't want it on the records. And he said, yeah, I can order it and then take it off your records. And later I checked and they did. He was a she. I'm sorry. The first doctor was a she. But my point is that we got to be more careful. Americans have to be more careful about what information they give out. I give you an example of 23andMe and how that was really a stupid idea to have that tested. People were curious, they had a lot of fun, and they found relatives, and that's wonderful. But where's that information now? So, and everything's hacked. So anything you put anywhere is hacked. It's the reality of life. So if there are real consequences of these companies for being hacked, I wonder if there'd be more careful. But anyway, and there's laws to protect your health information, HIPAA and some others. So I just wanted to say that we need to be less naive as Americans, especially swingers. They shouldn't be so stupid. Sometimes they're just like, God, just don't do that, And so, okay, thank you. Human produced and AI assisted. Hey, I'm real human.